1971 was a banner year for English folk rock. Dozens of bands put out albums in the vein. Many put out one album and disappeared only to be rediscovered in the 21st century. Ironically, one of the greatest and most audacious folk rock tracks recorded that year was on an album that became more well-known for its hard rockers. In fact, very well-known. Heck, arguably one of the most well-known albums ever recorded. The album I'm talking about is Zoso, colloquially known as Led Zeppelin IV, and from that album, the track The Battle of Evermore. Already, lots of tasty mandolins, something that they were first experimenting with on the prior album, Led Zeppelin III.
Queen of light took her bow, then she turned to gold. The Prince of Peace embraced the gloom and walked the night alone. Dancing in the dark seems to be more. Dark Lord rides and force tonight, and time will tell us wrong.
I believe I may be hearing double-tracked mandolin, particularly coming out of this side, and then I'm hearing like a strum, like a strum that's just accenting choice counts per bar.
Side by side, we wait the night of the darkest dawn.
Actually, I think it's like mandolin, acoustic guitar. There's a couple of guys playing. There's maybe two, maybe possibly three acoustic instruments being played here. One or two of them might be like one of the instruments might be double tracked.
I hear voices thunder down in the valley below. I'm waiting for the angels of Babylon, waiting for the eastern glow.
That female voice is Sandy Denny, who had was in Fairport Convention during the late 1960s, and more recently had fronted the folk rock spin-off Father and Gay. This album, Led Zeppelin IV, coming out the same year that she put out her first solo album.
The apples all in the valley, oh, the seas of happiness. Ground is rich from tender care, repay do not forget. No, no,
Good harmonizing here, although I'm wondering, what is John Bonham doing during all of this? I should catch up with some of the lyrics. The Queen of Light took her bow, and then she turned to go. The Prince of Peace embraced the gloom, and walked the night alone. Oh, dance in the dark of night, sing to the morning light. The Dark Lord rides in force tonight, and time will tell us all. Oh, throw down your plough and hoe, rest not to lock your homes. Side by side we wait the might of the darkest of them all. Oh, I hear the horses thunder down in the valley below. I'm waiting for the angels of Avalon, waiting for the eastern glow.
Petals turn to brown and black, the tyrant's face is red. War is gonna cry, pick up your swords, and the sky is filled with good and bad, mortals never know.
love the way that the harmonizing, it just creates this like sound mesh with the acoustic instrumentation, the way that they accent different notes within the key center that forms, like. Like this is basically A minor with some dropped and risen notes here and there. The way she's holding on to a note as he continues singing. Their voices kind of blend into one another quite well. When I was younger, I'm not even sure it even occurred to me that there were two people singing. I'm assuming that Robert Plant read a lot of medieval folklore. Is that perhaps what inspired these lyrics? I'm thinking right now, who was the first to introduce the mandolin into rock, particularly into hard rock? Was it Rod Stewart, or I'm trying to think of examples off the top of my head from like the 1960s. It was a relative. Not many people had done it at this point. Like later on, there would be Lindsey Buckingham when he joined Fleetwood Mac, and Phil Judd when he was in Split Enz, like the tracks Titus and Matinee Idol off the album Metal Notes, Second Thoughts, and songs like Secondhand, or that one, the second track off of Rumors, and then more of the material off of Tusk by Fleetwood Mac. Listen to those echoing vocals. Led Zeppelin, The Battle of Evermore, from their fourth album released in 1971, one of the most popular rock albums ever released. Yet, one track from it that remains pretty much a deep cut. I don't believe I've ever heard it on radio, and I live I live in the area where like KGON 92.3 FM in Portland was a fact of life growing up in the 80s and being around in the early 90s. One of the first classic rock stations in the country. One of the stations that that established the whole classic rock tradition of playing at least one Led Zeppelin cut an hour. And this one I don't believe I ever heard on that. Probably the only song from the album. Well, maybe that and maybe Four Sticks. I don't think I ever have heard on radio. Anyway, let's see. The song is knowable as being the only track the band recorded with a guest vocalist. Yeah, not something not a practice I associate with the band. Let's see, what else what kind of other information can I dig up on this? What was the song really about? Page explained in '77 that Battle of Evermore was made up on the spot. He just picked up John Paul Jones's mandolin, never having played. Oh, so this is the first time Jimmy Page played it. I was thinking, you're good playing there, Page. You should play the mandolin more often. But he actually got that, and I was imagining John Paul Jones was doing something that we were hearing in the background, maybe. I was imagining it was like John Paul Jones and Jimmy Page, and then Robert singing, of course, and then John Bonham off probably just at the bar. Yeah, I imagine that the lyrics were, yeah, there we go, J.R.R. Tolkien. References to Lord of the Rings. Yeah, I have never delved into that, but I as I was saying, I would imagine it was inspired by like fantasy folklore. Anyway, for more Rubies and Sapphires by Led Zeppelin, see the directory of albums by English L artists, linked in the description below, for Reds, Purples from all the Led Zeppelin albums, as well as pretty much all the L bands that were recording between the late 60s and mid 80s. Bands like Level 42, Ludus, the list goes on and on and on. Light of the World. And like and subscribe. And until next time, this is Zaragon, the world's most ear-travel tri-maximalist, signing off.